Hello, I'm Dilbar Shatterson, and thanks for joining us here at US Tzu Chi 360. In the wise words of Master Jianyan, the four treasures in life are sleeping soundly, eating happily, laughing joyfully, and working healthily. The last of those is what we here at 360 want to celebrate with you this month, the gift of good health. This November marks the 20th anniversary of Tzu Chi's medical foundation in the United States, and I'm pleased to share with you some of the highlights of its growth over the next few weeks. One of those highlights include its longtime partnership with an organization called One Legacy, which, to patients in need, provides donations of a different kind. In our upcoming segment, Thomas Moan and Brian Stewart will share the motivation behind their work there, and we'll also show you some of our Tzu Chi volunteers who have honored One Legacy's achievements during the annual Rose Parade in California in a very creative and very touching way.
Any thoughts on what's the meaning of life is a guess. We have no real rule book. So we have to decide, why do we feel that we're here? And I know that the greatest good I ever feel, the best I ever feel in my life, is when I've been able to work hard at something and help someone else.
The One Legacy brand visually is anchored by what we call our life bridges. This is an icon that's meant to communicate kind of a transfer of energy, if you will, from donor to recipient, with One Legacy being part of that process and enabling that energy transfer, if you were. A bridge is also a very powerful metaphor to describe what it is you do. A bridge takes you from a place of security, across a place of great insecurity, back to a place of security, whether it's physically or emotionally.
My cousin was very brave, and so are his family members. My uncle and auntie had decided to help Jason donate his organs. Their decision would have proven to be very difficult for anyone at that moment, especially in the Asian community, because traditionally the body is viewed to be kept whole.
Bodhisattva Jason Jia is a student at Tzu Chi Academy School in New Jersey. His organ donation includes his heart, kidneys, cornea, bones, so he practically donated organs and tissues. Other than skins, he donated everything.
My son was declared brain dead without any symptoms, without any warning. My husband was in Taiwan at the time, and at that moment, I had a thought, I don't want to live. It was a very suicidal thought. When all this happened, brothers and sisters from Tzu Chi came to the hospital to comfort me and embrace me for my loss. They also gave me a lot of positive energy, allowing me to come all this way. It has been 5 years. I don't feel any regret making this decision for Jason.
Life is the most valuable. These people can donate their organs to save others and allow us to learn from them. We who are still living can bring out the donor's love and their life. Even though they have passed away, they can still live on.
Going through this past 5 years, everyone was right beside me. Not only family and friends, there were also Tzu Chi family and a lot of people who came for a cause. When they stood up his portrait, I saw Jason on the top. That made me feel he really went on the right path that he should go on, and I am very happy for him.
We wanted to challenge people. We wanted them to think seriously about what they valued in life and about their choices to help other people. So we never wanted to come from a place of cliche. We wanted to come from a place of, we want to make you think. And just for a moment, if our presentation on the parade route, even for a moment, can make you think about what you value in life, can make you turn to your kids and say, you know what, I'm really glad you're with me. And I feel really bad for the family of that beautiful teenager whose portrait is on the float. Or I feel really happy for these people that needed a heart transplant to survive, and now look how much they enjoy life. I should enjoy life that much. Those are the kinds of undercurrents that we're trying to communicate with our involvement in the Rose Parade. And I think it's really helped advance organ donation in general across the country from being a scary thing to something that is a beautiful part of life, not death.
Like Brian mentions, the misconceptions of organ donation are many, and the choice is as much spiritual as it is emotional. As he suggests, many find the idea discomforting. One of those reasons is that it forces us to think about mortality. But on New Year's Day every year, One Legacy has a prime opportunity to soften those fears through flowers, as you've just seen, and they've been doing it since 2001. Let's meet One Legacy volunteer Gary Foxon now as he shares his involvement with the Rose Parade and tells us about what gifts one can still give once we reach the end of the road.
Our involvement in the Rose Parade was not our idea. It came to us from a single volunteer, someone who wrote a letter to us suggesting this because he had been involved in decorating floats for the Rose Parade for many years, and he saw this as a wonderful way to express gratitude to donors and also to celebrate what transplants make possible.
My name is Gary Foxon, and I'm a lung recipient. I received my new lung 12 and a half years ago now, and I was so gratified, felt so honored to get my lung that I wanted to find a way to pay back or give back to the donor families for what they have given to me, and also to let people know more about transplantation. So I wrote a letter to the organization that runs this operation, One Legacy, and suggested that they have a float in the Rose Parade.
The thought I have is for the entry of a float in the Pasadena Rose Parade, decorated by organ recipients and their loved ones, celebrating the gift of life and honoring the donor families who have shown their unselfish dedication to the well-being of others. I am one of those whose life was saved by receiving, and I will forever be indebted to the family that made me the object of their generosity. Trying to find a way to repay society for this wonderful gift, and I believe I have a good idea on how to do that. Certainly generate a feeling of accomplishment for those involved.
I thought it was the right thing to do, and I didn't know that it was going to happen, but I thought it was the right thing to do if we could make it happen. I'd have to say to One Legacy that thank you, One Legacy, for making all of this happen, because the staff at One Legacy is absolutely fantastic. Creative, hardworking. They've made the float what it is. I've been along for the ride. That's pretty much it.
So how old are you right now?
How old am I? I hate to tell you.
Oh, no.
78.
We have members of our Asian community with the Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation.
Tzu Chi is awesome.
When Tzu Chi comes to decorate the float as a team and supports us through videotaping our volunteers as they're decorating the portraits of loved ones, Tzu Chi's become a very, very important part of our whole experience. And we feel very, very fortunate that we built a relationship that joins our organizations in such a profound way.
So you gotta have them call them up.
I have a stronger feeling in my heart for donor families because they've given so much. And I say to them, God bless you. You're doing amazing work. Something I heard, my wife and I we were on a trip to Australia 3 years ago, I think it was. And we were in a taxi cab, and the taxi cab driver had his radio on, and they were having a donation drive to get people to register to be donors in Australia. And there was a celebrity on the radio that said, "When I die, you can take everything." He said, "Take my organs, take my skin, take my bones. You can have it all." He said, "If my family wants to bury something, they can bury my sins and the wrongs I've committed to my fellow man." And I thought that sums up the situation entirely. Once your life is over, you can do wonderful things.
While transplant recipients like Gary Foxon help paint a beautiful picture of organ donation, there are still many concerns that prevent the general public from participating. According to a study published in the journal Nephrology, Dialysis, Transplantation of the Asian population in Luton in the UK, the majority of respondents among several focus groups said they did not know what their religion prescribed in terms of organ donation. In other words, groups like One Legacy need the help of people from all faiths, including Buddhism, to clarify doubts, questions, and concerns regarding the treatment of the human body after death. Let's go back to the One Legacy team to find out how they become closer with Tzu Chi and how Tzu Chi has been able to educate its volunteers over the years about giving, even after the show is over.
When I got here to One Legacy, my very first thought was one of our greatest challenges in donation are the immigrant communities, whether they be immigrant from Latin America or immigrant from parts of Asia, where most people are coming from here. People came from cultures where organ donation and transplantation were not well known. And some of those people came from cultures where the issues and beliefs around death and dying were so strong that they really inhibited their comfort with the idea of donation in certain people. So I placed a call immediately to my friend Sabrina.
When I was working as a health administrator job in Tzu Chi Free Clinic, and I learned about silent mentor program in Taiwan, the great about will body donations program. I was so touched. At that time, I have decided to be a donor. That's organ procurement organizations, organ recovery organizations called One Legacy contacted me. They asked me that if I can volunteer my time, my extra time, to help to develop national education program for Asian Americans. If we don't care for our own people, who is going to educate them? And especially the first immigrant, immigrants that does not have a language barrier, how they going to learn about it? So I said I wanted to get involved, and that's how I started my extra time volunteer for organ tissue donations.
Share with you when Tom said, "Deborah, I'm going to steal Sabrina away." I said, "What? I cannot believe that."
I think I asked Deborah if it was okay. And I think it probably worked out well for everybody because Sabrina continues to work with Tzu Chi. We get the benefit of that relationship with Tzu Chi over the years, and it certainly has helped us to continue and make an even closer relationships.
Once they have the grants to hire for Chinese American, and they has initiated me, and they actually offered me a job and recruited me. And when I left Tzu Chi, and I told our sister brothers, Tzu Chi volunteers, and our family at Tzu Chi, and I told them that, my physically, I'm not there, but my heart is still there. I will continue to contribute, but I don't know how I will be doing at that time, but I know that I'm not really leaving. It's kind of remind me of what Master told you, when you die, and don't be sad about it, because they temporarily moving from body to body, but when you reincarnated, you back in some other forms, that you back as a human beings or some other way that you are doing the Tzu Chi work, and the spirits is the most important thing. So that's what I learned.
I treasure Sabrina as my sisters. And when she get married and she bring her whole family, I witnessed the whole thing. Really appreciate, so nice to be partners. I value our partnership, and I look forward to have more Tom, more Sabrina, more Brian to work with Tzu Chi.
Back in 2009, Sabrina surprised me with an invitation to attend TEMA. And I'd heard about TEMA from our CEO, Tom Moen, who'd been on at least a couple of occasions. So I was honored to receive the invitation, but I really didn't know what to expect. And of course, having Sabrina as my guide helped me along the way. But arriving at this campus and seeing the breadth of the organization, seeing how everyone adhered to the philosophies and the concepts and then the overall brand, if you will, of Tzu Chi, and to see it extended from the top all the way to the frontline volunteers was just beautiful. And I walked away incredibly impressed with the discipline of the organization, how well Tzu Chi documented what it had accomplished all over the world, and thought that there were some great lessons that we could apply here.
The reason that I bring all the different people is that we want them to learn that why Asian American in United States are the way how they are and the attitude on donations, the culture of donations, so that we can learn from Taiwan. The attitude of donations is very important. It's to learn about why these people are making the decisions, learning about their culture. You know, as an Asian American, we talk about, oh, we like to keep the body whole, and then our religious does not support the donations. I receive a lot of reasons that people are declining our donations. In our Chinese community, they said that, oh, I'm Buddhist, I'm sorry, I cannot donate organs. Working with leaders like Tzu Chi, it's very important to teach people, to teach to the community so that when the time comes, they think that is this the acceptable, and which is endorsed by my religious leader, by my master, so that they can be able to make that decisions.
A 60% increase in donation here, even maybe a little more now, over the last 10 years. And we have our Asian donation rate is one of the highest in the US. It's the long way to go to catch up with those people who were born here, raised here, had a donor dot on their license when they were 16 years old, so it's natural. But that's understandable, and it's just a matter of time and continued work. We'll continue to increase those numbers and help people make something good come when they have a loss.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
According to Tzu Chi's figures in 2010, more than 27,000 people have voluntarily signed up to enroll in the Silent Mentor program. The Tzu Chi Foundation describes a silent mentor as a person who willingly donates their body after passing for surgical education. Part of this process requires that the students meet with the donor's family and learn about the life of the cadaver with which they'll be working. In the March 2010 issue of Academic Medicine, editor Dr. Stephen Cantor poses an important question. What should be the nature of the relationship between the medical student and cadaver? Rather, how can we ensure respect for the donor, and how can students proceed in their educational endeavors while staying within ethical boundaries? This is the core concern that distinguishes the Silent Mentor program and has no less caught the attention once again of One Legacy. Let's see now what they've learned about what Dr. Cantor calls elegant yet silent mentors.
First of all, that is probably one of the best names of any program I've ever heard, ever.
Every medical school, a lot of nursing schools and others need to have these silent mentors, need to have these people who say, when I'm done with my body, you can have it to help someone else learn and do good for the world.
Silent Mentors says so much with 2 words. And then seeing how the program is expressed from the service prior to the learning experience in the OR, to the way the silent mentors are treated with such reverence in the OR, to the service afterwards where the bodies are taken away to be cremated. And then of course, the way they're returned to the shrine inside the hospital with the backlit crystal vessels. I mean, beginning to end, it is just beautiful.
How the students get to know something about their mentor. They get to know something of their life. Many get the chance to go and thank the family who helped donate that body and for the research and the training. And that this, take a moment to say a prayer and think of the person that was in that body once and the good that they're doing. To never treat the silent mentor as merely an object, but always keep the spirit and the person in mind, is a respect that I think we learned some of that from Tzu Chi and the silent mentor program.
We could learn a lot from taking anything we do with our donor families and making it a true end-to-end process where the families feel like from the moment they're engaged with Tzu Chi and how they're being led through that process, they feel like they're dealing with one organization, with one philosophy, and sensitivity is integrated every step of the process. So just stunning.
The honor is a real testimony to the caring, not just another teaching tool. It was someone who cared and is doing good beyond their lives.
According to the Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network, or OPTN, over 16,000 transplants were performed from January to July this year. But as of today, a whopping 120,000 and counting are still on waiting lists. This means that the supply falls incredibly short of the demand and that every organ donation is critical. The Tzu Chi Medical Foundation has recognized this need over the years, as evidenced by its advocacy and support of One Legacy's programs. Let's hear from Deborah Boudreau, the CEO of the Medical Foundation, regarding their partnership with One Legacy to help further their mutual goal.
And Sabrina and Brian, really appreciate it. So nice to be partners. I value our partnership and I look forward to have more Tom, more Sabrina, more Brian to work with Tzu Chi. And you are the best partners and collaborate agency we have. We are so proud of you, and you will be the model of the way for us to carry out our partnership and to recruit more agency to join with us.
Since 1988, the OPTN cites that there have been nearly 300,000 individual donors in the U.S. to date, with more than 580,000 transplants performed. Since the amount of recipients are nearly twice as many as there are donors, this means that those who choose to donate their organs and tissue after passing have the unique opportunity, if they qualify, to save multiple lives. There are countless ways to make a difference, yet a Jingsa aphorism by Master Zheng hints that there is still another way to give. Transient though life may be, one's contributions will live on. Join us next week as we visit the Medical Foundation again in the Coachella Valley. I'm Dilbar Shatterson, and see you then.
Through the years, have we managed to, collect items like the Jingsi aphorisms, which are always good to look at some days when you need to remember why we do what we do in the world. And this beautiful framed stone piece modeled on the shape of the island of Taiwan, cardboard or something, which are very nice. But this is just so beautiful.